Hello and welcome to another edition of Motor Cars Enthusiasts. Right off the bat on the old show today. Remember we talked about that whole UAW trying to transfer into a transplant company, which is an outside American company, UAW being the United Auto Workers Union, that actually is with the big three here in the United States, but has really been wanting to get their hands on some of the transplant organizations that have built factories here in the United States. One of these being the Volkswagen Chattanooga, Tennessee plant. Now, they did a big vote several months ago, and it lost handily. That the actual group itself, Volkswagen Group, did not want, and their workers, that is, didn't want union representation. Now, the UAW actually sued and actually was barking a lot about the government in the Tennessee region was actually against them, and so was Volkswagen. But behind the scenes, they were working on an interesting little deal. They put together a little outside union and in fact have enticed almost half of the actual workforce in that particular plant to join this particular union. And now they're going to try it again. They're actually going to try to make this a full plant, actually, that's fully union. So, interesting situation when it comes to the union situation for Volkswagen. This could be the first ever and quite possibly set precedents for a lot of manufacturers trying to come in and sell here in the U.S. market and build, especially in the U.S. market. Interesting times. We'll see more about this hopefully soon. Next up on the list, Volkswagen showing off the brand new X5 F15 Security Plus. And if you look really close, this vehicle is riddled with weapons fire. Because, yes, the Security Plus is actually a slightly smaller armored vehicle. This vehicle will stand up to VR6 protection standards. Now, this vehicle has some light armory and some ballistic materials as far as the sheet metal is concerned, ballistic glass in the particular machine, all thicker units. Now, because of all this particular deal, it's added a fair amount of weight, which means a lot of revisions come to the chassis and the suspension design, and not to mention, you get some power to lug that kind of weight around, as this vehicle will be getting the 4.4-liter twin turbocharged V8, putting out 445 brake horsepower and 490 pounds-feet of torque. Now, this vehicle will be shown off at the Moscow Auto Show out in Russia in just a handful of weeks. Now, if you're thinking this may be the first time BMW has ever done it, that is not the case. The 7 Series has had a vehicle that actually reaches all the way up to VR7 protection standards, which actually will put a fair dent as far as keeping protection from the occupants from small explosives as well. Now, this particular vehicle means small arms fire. It's not so small. This can get some pretty major weaponry. Now, the interesting thing apart, at least for me in this particular vehicle, is if you look really closely, look at the kind of damage. And BMW didn't mock about as far as this particular machine is concerned. Because if you look really closely at a lot of these pictures, you see a lot of rounds fired at actually all the panel gaps to make sure that nothing can't squeeze past the actual sheet metal of the vehicle itself. Very impressive, not to mention how many rounds they shot into this, and they're all numbered, which I thought was extremely hilarious. In fact, you see one of the rounds in this particular shot says 290, so they didn't waste any ammunition. At least they shot a lot at this particular machine, testing it up right. The first time BMW's actually done this to an SUV in their lineup. It'd be very interesting to see them go further with this in the future. Next up on the list, some interesting times for the Chrysler Group. You know, the whole Hellcat thing with the Challenger and Charger making over 700 horsepower with that supercharged 6.2-liter Hemi V8. But that's left the poor Viper kind of back in the back, only making 640 brake horsepower out of its 8.4-liter normally aspirated V10. Well, now there's rumors floating about that the old Viper here and that V10 may get some forced induction of its own. Yes, there is a lot of rumors floating about the interwebs that we'll see a supercharged Viper coming very, very soon. In fact, there's a lot of talk that this thing could make well over 800 brake horsepower, which is a lot of smoke for this particular machine. My biggest interest is how much is this going to cost? Because if this vehicle goes way up on the power scale, and the Viper's already pretty doggone pricey as is, having a little bit of difficult time moving these particular units as is, which is still a very intriguing situation to me, because I think this is a fantastic looking automobile, but it just hasn't sold that well. But it's well over 100,000. Good night. What's it going to be with that new supercharged unit? But I cannot wait. Tell you what, the Chrysler Group has been doing some very interesting stuff here lately. They have been building some monster performance and making a lot of noise and putting a lot of folks on notice that they are here and here to play hardball. It's a very intriguing time right now, especially for the Chrysler Group. And that's all there was that I thought was worth talking about for this edition of Motor Cars Enthusiasts. If you want to jump on over to the Facebook page and give us a like over there, we'd appreciate it. Also, if you want to subscribe to the channel, you can do so at any time. Get the first dibs on the brand new shows as soon as they come out. I thank you for watching, and we'll see you again real soon.